Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to the third episode of Voice of Ofir, a podcast series presented by the CN Gwent Snapshot team, in which we will chat about our stories Gwent as well as the general state of the game. I am your host, Part1 and today we have the pleasure of welcoming two extremely popular Gwent streamers and experienced players in the world on our channel. We have the best Gwent players from North America for Team Aretuza, renowned for his exceptional deck building ideas, Redrame, and one of the biggest Chinese streamers and experienced caster for the Gwent Master series, iAhri. How are you guys doing?
Great.
I'm doing pretty well.
So like right now, do you guys just basically stay at home all day still, or are you guys like doing more activities outside because of the virus situation is dying down a bit?
I've mostly just been staying at home. It definitely could go out more now with a lot of things reopening in America, but that's honestly just going to spread the pandemic that much more. Like, the actual danger is increasing as a result of that. I don't really need to go out.
Well, the same here. Even if there's no virus conditions here, I will be stay home.
Like I'm just staying at home all day right now, so yeah. A lot of Gwent time, I guess, which is always fun. So Redrame, you have been an exceptional, a very famous Gwent player and are generally recognized as one of the best players in North America. Like, you're the first to make it to the official Gwent tournaments from North America, which is very incredible. Congratulations on that. And yeah, how did you get into Gwent initially? Like, what is your story with it?
So my story with getting into Gwent, I feel like Gwent is sort of largely divided into two different communities. You have the people who came from sort of a more competitive card game background, either Magic or Hearthstone, or take your pick of other card game. And then you have people who just got into Gwent because they really like the Witcher series. I definitely come from the card game side. I've played a good number of card games in the past. I grew up on Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! I played a decent amount of Magic, although I was never actually super in love with that game. I played Hearthstone for a while, and then sort of just made my way over to Gwent at some point.
Well, sorry to interrupt it, but when you start playing Gwent?
I started playing Gwent in very early open beta, which the timeline kind of gets blurred. I'm trying to remember precisely when that is. But I want to say probably almost 4 years ago now is when I started playing Gwent.
That's a long time ago. So
yeah.
When did you decide to get into the competitive side of things and start streaming?
I got into the competitive side of things sort of by accident. Like, mostly when I was starting out playing Gwent, I was just playing for my enjoyment. I liked deck building a lot, so I kind of just messed around with my own things. And then at one point, I decided to build an Axeman deck, immediately after Axeman got very heavily nerfed.
Oh, yeah.
And I managed to get rank 1 with it, and everyone was like, wow, no way, this deck is trash now. And so because of that, a lot of people were like, how did he do it? I wanted to learn more from this guy. And so I sort of begrudgingly wrote a guide for the deck, and I posted it on a site called GwentDB that's no longer functional. And then from there, whenever I would build something else that I thought was interesting and worth sharing, I would post it there, and I sort of amassed a cult following. I had played another strategy game that I didn't want to go overly into called Prismata, so I also... it's sort of a niche game, but I had a bit of a background from there, and that's sort of where I first started trying out streaming. And at some point I decided that I would try to stream Gwent as well. My computer at that time was not very good, so it was more of a PowerPoint than a stream. They would jokingly call it the PowerPoint stream. But the moment I actually got an upgrade, I was really able to take off.
Sounds great. And iAhri, you are one of the core members of our Chinese community. You have been a streamer and caster for Gwent tournaments since the beta times, and you're a favorite of our fans. So how did you get into Gwent?
Well, it's almost the same with the Redrame. At that time, I remember it was like 2017. I was playing Hearthstone, and there's more and more RNG part in Hearthstone. Get in Hearthstone. So I want to try another tactical, more tactical card game. Then I found the Gwent. Well, I'm not actually a big fan of Witcher. Actually, I'm a big fan of the Scroll, the Elder Scroll. I guess everybody knows that game. So I'm more like the card part, not the Witcher part player. And well, I start playing Gwent the same time I start streaming the Gwent. I guess at the beginning I just want to get some money from it, from streaming, but then well, the result is that I didn't get any money from it, but I start becoming more and more interested in the game itself. So I kept streaming, and it's almost 3 years.
So like, how do you guys, since both of you are from the open beta times, like how do you feel about all the progress and Gwent has gone through? Like how, like I guess a better way to put this question is like, do you prefer the Gwent now or the Gwent during open beta? Like, what do you think about the advantages and disadvantages this changes brought? I mean, I guess Redrame can start.
I'm always that question. I don't have a good answer to that question to this day. I get that a lot, and I never quite know how to respond. It's difficult to sort of measure, how much of old Gwent was like rose-tinted glasses, just like a more fun way of looking at the game, versus what was actually genuinely better about old Gwent. I would say in general, I actually like new Gwent more. I definitely do at least remember some of the problems that plagued old Gwent. Especially recently, I think they've made... I know there are definitely some controversial new introductions to the game, but I think that in terms of just developing an overall sense of flavor to the game, the decks feel more different from each other again. It feels like they've really been able to reintroduce the idea of sort of introducing different strategies, sort of like long round versus short round decks, without just making really broken cards like Necker from open beta that just would plague the game and force people to run 3 copies of Necromancers per deck.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Like, I guess the game right now is quite balanced in general, which is always a good thing. And iAhri, what's your take on the general state of Gwent?
Well, it's a hard question to answer about. Well, actually, I would prefer the old version, but we know that the old version still had a lot of problems, and the new one, the Homecoming Gwent, also having a lot of problems now. So it's hard to compare with, but I guess I have to say I prefer the old Gwent because of that. The first time I start playing Gwent, it gives me a lot of different experience with another card games. Like you have to win 2 rounds, except you have to win 1 round, and you don't have to attack their faces. You have to compare the power itself, not you have to attack your enemy hero. It's very
very different than
new experience for me, and so that gives me a lot of memories. So I would prefer the old one, but the new one also having some good points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Like the old Gwent and the new Gwent, they both have their merits, and yeah, I just hope that CDPR can continue to work on Gwent and try to improve on the issues that they're having right now. So like, what are you guys' favorite faction in Gwent right now? Or do you guys have a favorite faction, I guess?
A lot of times I just pick the underdog factions, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
It feels like I can only pick a favorite faction because it's bad and it's fun to meme with. And it's Twitch chat's favorite faction. If I had to pick one overall, I would probably say either Monsters or Skellige.
Mm-hmm.
I like the identity of those factions a lot.
Yeah. And Ari, for you?
I would like to pick strongest. The strongest one will be my favorite. But if you make me to choose one of these, I would pick Monster, I guess, because the Monster is my first to play it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like Monsters, I think Monster is like a lot of people's first faction, especially for the open beta persons, because it's just such a unique and fun to play faction, I think. Kind of sucks to see Monsters in like not a great spot right now. Yeah. So
No,
like,
but Jason don't think that way.
yeah, I think in the new expansion, which we are going to talk about, they're probably going to bring some crazy new cards for Monsters, which
Wild Hound.
yeah, hopefully very exciting stuff. So, do you guys like? What do you think is like the I'm trying to find the word for it. Like your favorite thing about Gwent that makes it stand out from the other games, if that makes sense. Like for example, the arts, the strategies and stuff. Like what makes it stand out from the other card games that you have played? For the current version, I guess.
I think the biggest thing for me, the art and the voice lines I enjoy a lot, but I think it's just the mechanic of, like Ari was saying, 2 rounds, no objective in terms of like a life total or anything like that, no mana curve. Just made the game feel very different. And it also, I think it's really cool how, because you have to win 2 rounds, you can just play anything that you want. And it's okay to have cards that are really powerful and potentially have sort of game warping effects for 1 round. As long as you can sort of manipulate the rounds in order to make that, in order to punish those cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the 3-round strategy is definitely adds like a lot more depth into the strategies of the game. And Ari, what's your like favorite thing about Gwent, I guess?
The feeling of control, because I can control my sources into 3 rounds. Well, it's the same. I guess most of the players, Gwent players, well, they play Gwent because of that.
Yeah. Like the feeling of control, like you can actually try to play our strategies and using your understanding of the matchups to actually win games instead of relying on luck, which I think is a very unique thing about Gwent. And moving on, I think we can briefly chat about the overall meta right now. I mean, not much has changed from last month, if any, since there wasn't a balance patch, but I mean there's a new expansion coming which we are going to talk about. So regarding the meta right now, like how would you guys rate it? Maybe out of a scale of 10?
I would I will rate it like 0 out of 10.
Really?
I mean 0. No, some of the cards are really interesting, but I do not like the way they change the card, because we never have played those cards. We didn't experience those cards. We don't know if it is really strong or weak, but they just change it before it came out.
Oh, you mean for the new expansion cards?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of weird they're doing balance patches before the game even comes out.
That's I don't like the way they're doing for this new expansion. So I would rate 0 for that. But for the card, I would rate maybe 7.
Yeah, that sounds fair. And Redrame?
I never like metas without changes. I especially don't like metas where they felt sort of stale and like similar to previous metas that are then sort of solidified. I especially don't like metas where Scoia'tael is the top deck. It just kind of feels like you play your Scumatel units in a line. That's my catchphrase.
Yeah.
It is a deck that can, if you're good at the game and you understand the fundamentals, it can potentially reward that. But it does, to some extent, feel like it's hard to optimize your climb just because you either play against something that's really greedy and designed to punish you, or you play against something with less points than your deck and you win. So I would say the current meta, I've had worse. I would give it maybe like a 3 out of 10. But I'm ready for this expansion. The expansion, some of the cards in the expansion definitely have me nervous, but the timing of the expansion is very needed.
Yeah, I mean it has been like how many months? Like 6 months without new cards. So
7 months.
7 months, yeah. Like that's a long time for a card game. So I'm very glad that they're finally bringing some new cards to Gwent. And like about the current meta, like I think the one thing that I want to complain about the most is still about scenarios. Like it seems they're just I mean, ever since their release in Merchants of Ofir, they have changed so many other cards just because of the scenarios introduction to the game, which feels kind of just yeah, I'm not really satisfied with how they're trying to balance out the scenarios impacts on the game right now. But other than that, I think yeah, the meta is quite stale and the expansion is really exciting. And yeah, about the expansion, like I mean, we have already seen some of the all of the neutrals, most of Nilfgaard and some from Syndicate. So like for the expansion, before we go into like the specific keywords and factions and new mechanics and stuff, like do you like the direction CDPR is going with, like the general design ideas of the cards so far? Like do you think they are going in a good direction with the entire expansion?
Yeah, it's hard to say without seeing all of the cards. To me, just in terms of like the mechanics that they've introduced alone, it's kind of a mixed bag. Some of them I think I'm very fond of going into the game. Like the idea of the cards that evolve over the course of the rounds. And even cards with stuff like Echo. Just being able to play them twice. I like cards that play with round dynamics, just on the whole. It feels like sort of the most unique thing about Gwent is that it's a game that's played over 3 rounds. And I would say I'm a fan of them introducing anything that encourages you playing a certain way, whether it be sort of just like playing very aggressively in order to try to punish cards, or just trying to sort of wait out to get them to save like your big finisher that you want to evolve at the end of like for round 3 or something like that. Some of the cards that they've actually released, I feel like I wish they were a little bit more aggressive on. Like right now, cards like the Usurper General and I don't remember the name of the Syndicate one, sort of just feel like they're points. And they're not very... It feels like they don't gain or lose that much from when you play them. Other mechanics like Devotion, I'm a little bit more bearish on. Especially given that they printed a card like Hope Critters. I don't really think Devotion is like new design space for Scoia'tael, given that Scoia'tael's primary, like the 2 biggest mechanics in Scoia'tael are Harmony and Races. Like you'd play like an Elf deck or a Dwarf deck or something like that. And in either case, you're already incentivized to play only Scoia'tael cards. So I don't really like them using Devotion as an excuse to just give them very powerful cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'd rather them give them something a little more thematic.
Yeah, devotion feels like a weird keyword to be like added to Squirtle because they're just playing their own cards anyway, so it's just feels like a weird move from CDPR. And Ari, like, what is your general impression on the expansion so far? I mean, besides the weird balance changes they're just doing on the fly, like, other than that?
Well, not the same way as Redrame. I think those keywords or the designs are so familiar with me. I mean, Echo, we have seen the Echo keywords from another card game, right? And about the on the round start, I don't know how to pronounce that. I mean, the card, the new card, well, they changed the ability at the round start. But this is the same with the old card, Galaxy. That card, I forgot the keyword.
Like
but
veterans, I think?
every
They're kind of similar.
it's the same way. The old card, they become stronger. 1 point. How to pronounce that? The Patina, Vanera, yes. It's the same idea.
Yeah.
So this is so familiar to me. I mean, those cards, those keywords, those new things. It's not new for me. So I would not like. I don't think the new pack is good.
Yeah, I understand your point. Like, the new 6 evolving cards that they're bringing with Master Mirror are generally like, I mean, the cards are just merely gaining more and more power as they go into the later rounds, which is basically another iteration of the veteran system that gains power.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have hope that they would do something more like more interesting with the evolving cards, like maybe having different abilities each round. But
yeah,
that's what I was expecting them to do. That's why I was saying I liked the idea of that a lot, even though I was a little bit disappointed when I saw some of the actual designs. But yeah, I agree. Most of the other mechanics feel like they've been borrowed from other games. I don't think that's inherently horrible, because they can play out differently in Gwent, but it's hard to get excited over them.
Yeah.
There isn't really anything that is like super new or not has been in Gwent or any other card games. So yeah, I guess that's the thing. I mean, the only like really new thing I guess they brought with the expansion is Rupture, the new status, but I guess it's just another version of Poison, I guess you can kind of. I mean, it's hard to evaluate Rupture. It's a very weird status, I guess. I'm honestly kind of concerned like how Rupture would perform in the meta. And Redrame, what's your idea of the like opinion on the status?
To me, it's a little bit funny that it's a keyword, just because they said that they were only printing it on one card. And if they did print it on one more card, I think it would just be problematic. The only thing that would keep Rupture sort of in line is that you could save a specific answer to it. I'm already a little bit worried about the one Rupture card, but yeah. It's kind of an interesting idea. But it could just be super abusable, especially on red.
Yeah, definitely. And Ari, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, if like what the Redrame said, the keyword only appears on one unit, that would be fine. But the CDPR won't do the keyword to make it like a Rupture. They can just explain that on the card directly. So which I think the keyword will be on more other cards.
Yeah.
So that will be a big problem because the keyword there, rupture, is so strong, and you have to defend that by armor or purify, or the new keyword veil. So that will be a problem, but we will see because we didn't see. We will see it in the future.
Yeah, like the feeling I got from Rupture is kind of similar to how scenarios and bomb healers work. Like they're just super binary. I mean, Rupture is like it has a lower ceiling than scenario, so I guess it's not that binary. But I still feel it's kind of concerning, especially considering that it's in Skellige, which has a very strong leader called Second Wind, which can place multiple times. And yeah, but hopefully TDPR will find a way to balance these things out.